Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Dear Johnson, I'm facilitating this morning. Good morning. Along with Ms. Laura Cleddy, Winston Edwards, Anthony Gutierrez. She's got time to keep her. Jackie Walton, and she's absent today. Armenia Canty and Steve Johnson. We have a whole team here this morning. Digital navigators and from 311, and we all know 311. That's the number we call the code enforcement. That's what I call it. Okay. Do we have anyone here for the first time? Anybody here for the first time? Could you please just introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Amy Griffin. I'm with the Center for Digital Equity at Queen's University. We're going to hear a little bit about some of the programming coming out today, and just really grateful to be here. Sir, that was the most lovely way to start my day.
Amira Bartholomew, also with the Center for Digital Equity at Queen's University, and excited to be here.
Danita Isabel Davis. I'm also with the Center for Digital Equity at Queen's University, and I'm a digital navigator.
James Sumter, I'm with the Center.
Oh my goodness.
Navigators.
Wow, you brought everybody. Okay. We always start with a prayer. We're going to let Mom preach. Yeah, sure. She's our chaplain. Put the name on it.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let us pray, and in the meantime, we want to pray for Mr. Alfred to come over with us. Our circle was broken by his passing, and we want to acknowledge his absence in the circle. He used to come every Tuesday morning. We knew he would be here because he had some awful information to impart to us. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're remembering Mr. Applewhite this morning, and we're remembering so many others, Mr. Ford, who passed during the pandemic. Not due to the pandemic, but you just chose to add them to your repertoire of experts in heaven. We know he's looking down on us this morning. We know that, without a doubt. We're thankful for being here as a team and as a circle. We are thankful for the weather, the rain, the sun, the wind, the rain, and the tornado warnings, and all of such things. We're just thankful to be here this morning. God bless this forum continuously. We pray that you keep us as a team, because our camaraderie is impossible to pass. Bless our nation. Bless our national leaders. Bless our county, our city, and our state. Bless our neighborhood and our homes. In your Son Jesus' name we pray. Let us stay together.
Amen.
Okay, everyone. I want to tell our presenters that we do have a virtual audience. Okay, so you're not just talking to us, but you're speaking with people who are with us virtually also. And I'm excited to introduce Mr. Bruce Clark, who's the Executive Director for the Center of Digital Equity at Queen's University. He's with the Digital Navigators. And we also have a team from Charlotte 311, and they will be here also. And you all would have to introduce yourselves because I don't have your names, and that'd be okay. But each one of you will have a chance to speak, okay? So when you are finished presenting, they will raise their hands, and I will call on the people, okay? Okay, I'll ask everyone to put your phones on silent, please, so that we can go through this seamlessly. Okay, I'm going to introduce Mr. Bruce Clark to begin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Before we jump, let's just do quick introductions up here, and then we'll jump in, and we'll all kind of talk together. So,
Okay. I'll go ahead and begin. Good morning. My name is Lynette McCallum, and I'm with Shopback 311.
What's his name?
thank you, Matt.
Good morning, my name is Tiffany White, and I'm with the Center of Digital Equity powered by Queen's University, and I'm a digital navigator.
Good morning, my name is Copeland Barbee. I'm also a digital navigator with the Center for Digital Equity.
It's kind of hard to sit this morning because I got a lot of energy and I'm excited to be here with Tuesday Morning Breakfast Forum. My first forum was in January 2009 at the old West Boulevard, or the community center there. I even forget the name of it now. What do we call that? West Charlotte. Yeah, sorry, the West Charlotte. Yeah. And I remember, I think there were desks. Weren't there desks in that room, like school desks in the?
They were just chairs.
No, for some reason I thought there was a desk. I just remember walking in there when I had the privilege of managing Anthony Fox's campaign for the mayor's office in 2009, and that was my first experience. And here we are, 15 years later, which is hard to believe. It's 15 years since 2009. And I've always appreciated the opportunity to be in this room and whether it's here or virtually and share space. So thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Bruce Clark. I serve as the Executive Director for the Center for Digital Equity at Queen's University of Charlotte. We are a backbone organization for a collective impact strategy focused on making Mecklenburg County the most digitally equitable community in America. We bring together residents, public and private sector partners across 5 focus areas to achieve that mission. We have an advisory board made up of leadership from the city, the county, the library, and the school system, and some private sector partners, along with our community council, which is where our residents participate and help guide this work. All the goals that we have that we seek to achieve are co-created by that group of people. And so we're in our first, although we've been doing this work collectively since around 2015, this modern version of the center has really just existed for the last year. And our first year of goals that we have are, we're about ready to finish our first year. So the 5 focus areas that we think about are policy, advocacy, and ecosystem development. Thinking about the kinds of sort of government-related policies around digital equity. How are they making it easy for people to adopt and access the internet, gain skills and technology? What do we need to be thinking about as a community? The second is our data, program measurement, and research. So we got to be able to measure what we're doing, got to be able to communicate to the community, and we have to be able to hold each other accountable, whether that's you as residents holding us accountable or us together holding other organizations that are doing digital equity work accountable. Our third work stream is our digital literacy and skilling work stream. We're thinking about the skills needed to survive, and better yet, the skills needed to thrive in our modern society, economy, and democracy. Our fourth work stream is our device and connectivity. So what kind of device do you need to thrive in this world today? And how do you connect to the internet? Not just is the wire in the ground in front of my house, but can I afford it? Can I keep it on? Is it the right speed for what I need to do in my house or wherever your home may be? And then the last one is the one we're really here to talk about today, which is our digital navigation service. And I don't like to use the deficit language of the digital divide. We like to talk about digital equity and the promise and the opportunities we have. But for this moment, if we use that digital divide language, think about that cliff that one stands on, and if they don't have internet, if they don't have a computer, and if they don't have the skills, it's really hard to get on the other side of that valley. And a digital navigator is represented here by 2 of our amazing digital navigators. These are the folks that help you through that valley to get to the other side. And not just to learn a skill like Microsoft or some job skill, but to achieve some outcome and opportunity in your life, right? Nobody comes to us and says, I just want to learn Microsoft Word because I want to learn Microsoft Word. They typically say they want to learn it because they want to create a new resume, because they're trying to get a better job and they're trying to improve their life. or they're trying to save money on their internet bill so they can put their limited resources to better use. And so our digital navigation service operates to do that. Before we jump in, and I don't know if, can people online submit questions, right? They can do that too?
They can.
I know we're not at the Q&A piece yet, but I was wondering if I could just get a little bit of audience participation. I'd love to hear, I know I got a lot of our team in the room too, but I would just love to hear if there's how people are using the internet, how people want to use the internet, and what type of barriers they see in the community to kind of seed the conversation. I know I'm throwing us off. You tell me if that's not allowed.
Yeah, thank you very much for doing that. No, just keep going.
Okay, all right, you got it. No, that's fine.
Just keep
So
going.
think about that, because we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. And so let's take a minute, Tiffany and Copeland. I'd love for you to share, kind of bring to life what the Digital Navigator service means to you and how it unfolds day to day. And then we'll go from there.
I can, yeah. So how it unfolds day to day, we spend most of our day making calls, or I should say returning inquiries that you all make, or that the community members make, whether it's they need help securing a device, a laptop, or if they need help getting low-cost internet, we're able to get them connected with the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, which you all may or may not have heard of before, which it's a subsidy, knocks off $30 from your monthly internet bill. And,
Maybe we need a microphone. Do we have a?
I'm sorry, we were quiet. Yeah, so we spend most of our days making calls or returning calls that are made from the residents who need help either getting a device or maybe getting low-cost internet, or just a multitude of other issues that people come to us with. And I think the name of the game is patience, which is a shared quality through even our new hires, our new digital navigators. Because we're here to help and we're here to assist with anything that you guys, anything you can help and you can ask. I think just about like that.
Let's give her the mic.
So again, as Coach said, we take calls from 311. And right now we also have a campaign with CMS to help students get affordable connectivity, which Coach was saying, the ACP, in their home. So we do take calls from 311, majority of them. And community members are requesting affordable laptops. We give them information as to where they can purchase affordable laptops or where there is a device that we can get them for free. We also assist them with any type of digital skills, any learning that they may need, as Bruce was saying, for their resume and just to broaden their skills so they're able to be able to compete in the world and look for jobs. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to assist any way that we can to help you complete the role that you need as far as being a part of this digital inclusion world.
Thank you, Tiffany and Cope. So for quick context, any resident in Mecklenburg County can call 311, press any button, and ask to speak with a digital navigator. And so I'm really excited that Lynette's here because without our partnership with 311, which we find to be really valuable for communicating to residents, it'd be a little bit more challenging for folks to find us. And so, Lynette, would you like to share a little bit about our partnership and the role of 311?
All right, with our partnership with Digital Navigator Program, and we're definitely glad for that partnership. We're able to provide assistance for residents who may call in. Residents may call in for 311 for all sorts of things. It could be anywhere, assistance with their trash, and question about their water bill, anything like that. But also, as we're listening to the conversation of our residents, we're also listening to see if there's any type of digital need. And with that, with the Digital Navigator program, we actually have an online form that we're able to fill out for the resident. And with that, that information gets forwarded to the Digital Navigator, where they're able to provide more specific assistance with that. Along with calling 311, the Digital Navigator form is also available on our app, the CLT Plus mobile application. So for residents who may not necessarily want to call in 311, they still can go to the app and still get access to that Digital Navigator form. And then we also have a live chat feature where we're able to assist residents, and we can also do that same thing where we're able to fill out that form and make sure that the information gets to our Digital Navigator partners so that they're able to provide a little bit more assistance.
So pardon me. So last year, which was our first full year operating the Digital Navigator service, we took 660 requests from residents that came in over the phone, that came in through a web form where residents found their way to our website, or whether they came in through a partner, which we work with a lot of community-based organizations who share this information. This year, which we're actually, for us, the year is July to June, so we still have a couple more months left. But this year, so from 660 last year, this year, we're just rounding 3,000 requests from residents. So a 400% increase in 1 year. So what that tells us, and I think this is for all of us to judge together, but what that tells us is that residents are seeking this support. And anytime we have an opportunity to share about it, we see an increase in call volume. And as Tiffany mentioned, we have a partnership with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, mainly focused on the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is something we talk about a lot. There are certain qualifications for that program to receive that benefit. And we know that there's about 68 CMS schools, roughly 42,000 families, who attend those schools, or students, I'm sorry, and every single family in that school automatically qualifies for the Affordable Connectivity Program. So we work with the district to communicate to those families, hey, there is a $30 a month internet benefit that you automatically qualify for. Here's the information, and if you need any help signing up for that, our Digital Navigator team is here to assist you. About half of our calls came specifically from that. So of those 3,000 requests from residents, about 85% of them have been specifically for help signing up for the Affordable Connectivity Program, and the remaining have been a mix between residents looking for a no-cost device, residents looking for digital skills, or basic technical support. So we're going to leave these at the end as we'll keep chatting here, and I want to get some stories from Copeland and Tiffany, but we have a series of materials that we can share today. So we have a postcard here that highlights the service, the basics of Call 311. We can make these available for anyone here, so resident organizations, your neighborhood, your friends. You can connect with us, and we're happy to deliver these postcards to you. And then we also have information on the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is, as you can tell by the numbers we shared, is one of the sort of hottest things that residents are seeking support with. Another keynote is that this particular flyer is in English and Spanish. We know that our friends at 311 can take calls in English and Spanish. And through a partnership we have with a local translation company, we can actually respond to residents who call in 107 languages, which has been particularly important. As we know, in the growth of Charlotte, we're seeing a lot of refugees coming. We have a lot of non-English speaking families who qualify for these benefits, and we want to be able to serve them to the best of our abilities. And so we've been able to provide that service to residents. But I think what, a lot of, there's some basics here that we can share, right? Call 311, I need a computer. Call 311, I'm trying to save money on my internet. Call 311, I'm trying to learn a new skill. Where do I go to learn that new skill that's no cost to me? That's all information that we can share back and forth. But what really makes this powerful is the stories of the people that call and the opportunity we have to serve them. And so I'm wondering, Tiffany and Cope, if you don't mind, and again, obviously, we're not using specific names, but if you can maybe share a couple of stories that really highlight the power of the service and what we know is true. And I should have started with this. I believe that everyone in our community deserves a chance to live a happy and healthy life and to thrive in the world today. And while it's not the only thing that matters, I think we've all seen firsthand that technology, the internet, and the skills are a part of the ability to do that.
Come, Martha.
And so when we think about the work we do, we don't just think about handing somebody a square piece of metal that connects to the internet. We think about handing somebody an opportunity to whatever they're trying to do in their life. Finish school, communicate with their grandkids, save money online, talk to their doctor without having to get in the car or ride the bus or take the train to get there. And so to bring that to life a little bit more, I'd love for y'all to share a couple of stories. Does anybody have one that jumps out?
So the story that I'd like to share is that I personally was a recipient of the Affordable Connectivity Program. And that allowed me to continue to work from home.
We take questions. Are you ready?
It assisted me with being able to afford my internet bill and being able to have it at a manageable price that I could continue to afford. So I was very thankful. I am still very thankful for that. And it allowed me to have other opportunities, such as working for the Center of Digital Equity. So just my own personal story and my own testimony is that, without certain services, where would you be? And so I'm thankful for that, for the ACP, and also for other opportunities that I've had from working from home, actually. Maybe one other story quickly is that we were at an event and a gentleman received his first laptop and he was 50 years old. So it was more than refreshing to see someone being able to get a laptop, being able to put it to service, and then signing up for digital skills that he would need in order to be able to use the laptop. And again, to sign up for the Affordable Connectivity Program. So just thinking how it pushes each one of us to do more and receive more. And so those are my two stories that I'd like to share.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'd start with first a similar story. I was at an event in person, and there was an older lady who was just receiving her first device, and it was a couple of months ago, so I'm struggling to remember if she had been away for a while. I don't remember if it was incarceration or if it was another situation, but she'd been away for a while. She'd been removed from society for a while, and then but she wanted to get involved. She wanted to connect, and she was over the moon receiving the device. But then that was one shot to the heart. It was in a good way. But then the second thing was she didn't even know what a power button was. So that showed us that we have another hump to go over with. It's not just giving them access to the device, but showing them how to use it once they receive it, because many folks have never used any of these things, and but that doesn't mean that they don't have a right to learn and better their situation in any way. And second story, because she told two, and I told two now. There was over the phone, I was able to help connect someone with the ACP program who was blind, and something you don't even think about, but of course she has other aids to help her surf the web, because she has an aid to help when I'm speaking to her on the phone, but she doesn't have the internet to use it with. So it was just fulfilling in that way.
So none of this work happens alone. I think that's really critical, that we're up here as our digital navigator team. We have our partnership with 311. There's a lot of other folks who may be online or not here with us today who make this work possible. And so it's really important for us to highlight them. So I had mentioned our 5 focus areas. So, when we think about the first one, the policy and advocacy, there's a lot of collaboration, obviously, with our elected officials who are critical in that work, right? You may have seen, and as we all did during COVID, the federal spending that has come down to support communities, whether it was the CARES Act or ARPA funds or the infrastructure bill. And in each one of those legislation, there was money specifically for supporting communities and supporting digital access. That whether that was for new wires in the ground to connect communities, lots in rural places, less so in Mecklenburg County, but more so for money for digital navigation services, for the types of devices needed to support families. And that happens in part because of the need in our community, but also the kind of relationships that are required with elected officials, as I know this group knows very well. Second is our private sector. And so what we found to be really powerful is the skilled support from the private sector, right? There's a lot of folks whose day job it is to, let's say, do something in data and research or in arts and culture, and all of those elements are required to come together to create a community and a culture around digital equity, right? This is something that if we're as a community going to thrive into the future and to ensure that everyone has access, it has to be something that is beyond just a single organization. So a couple of private sector partners who have really leaned in, and this is not to exclude anyone, but EY, Ernst & Young, they have been at the table from the very beginning, providing support, consultative support around marketing, around anything we really have asked of them. Barings, you may know Barings Bank, they have had their innovation team helping design some of the digital navigation materials, lean into the work and provide that support for residents. I know I'm going to forget a few. I'll say one more on that context. Abbott Exchange and their leadership through their Tech Rising program, led by Rob Focus, who have really galvanized all the private sector partners to have us to come to the table in a way that is respecting and acknowledging the fact that we let the residents decide what the goals are. And that's oftentimes different in a lot of situations where they're coming in to say, how can we support what the residents are telling us to do? So we try to facilitate those relationships. Some of our nonprofit partners and community-based organizations or quasi-government organizations who are really critical to this work, first and foremost, is Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. You all know the 20,000 laptops that they've been distributing. I see some heads nodding here. They were the recipient of a federal grant to purchase 20,000 laptops. They have been distributing those at Abbott Exchange over the last several months, with the final couple of distributions coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So there's 20,000 people in our community, in our county, who now have a computer, who may not have had one before that because of the work of the library and their dedication to making sure that those computers go out. Another one who folks in this room may know is E2D, Eliminate the Digital Divide. They also do help support communities around digital equity, specifically around supplying devices. They've done a ton of work with Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, but they also work actually in a number of different communities leading this work. And the last one I'll share, there's a lot more, but Goodwill of the Southern Piedmont and Goodwill University in particular. They're providing training to residents at no cost for career pathways, helping people learn basic skills, helping people learn advanced skills, and getting them into jobs that they're seeking. And so I know I've left off a few partners for sure, which is always a dangerous piece, because if they're watching, they'll probably email me later and say, hey, you forgot to mention me. So, but it's a collective impact, right? So we sit up here today, but we're really sitting on the shoulders of the work that's been done in this community for years in the making. So I think before we transition to questions, we may have a couple other closing thoughts. I'm wondering if there's anything that y'all think of as it relates to the work that you do that you might want to share a final point on or two. Thinking about what the maybe top 2 things are. I know we kind of alluded to this already, but the top two things that people are calling for and what they're telling you as to why that they're calling about those things?
One of the top things that they're calling for is a device, and we need continued support as far as devices. And that's what a lot of people are calling in for, because they're still not able to afford or an affordable device. So what is affordable? So, you know, a lot of that is just, you know, they need a device and they need it now, because again, they want to take a class at Central Piedmont. They want to take a class. I had a lady the other day wanted to take some Bible classes. She was only able to do that online. They want to just broaden their skills, and so a device is really what's needed, and sometimes your phone just cannot do it all. So that's one of the things. I'll give it over to you for the second one.
Thank you. I guess I'll speak on the second one, which is the ACP program, which we spoke on earlier, the $30 internet discount. And I think the main thing that's poking out in my mind is just trust. And when you hear $30 and when you hear trust, I think a lot of times people think like we're selling something, or like, yeah, or it's a scam, right? Or like, especially when we're on the phone, and because of the application, you you qualify for the benefit through receiving some kind of government assistance. And in order to prove that, you have to provide personal information to prove that that's true, So trying to do that over the phone, of course, there's a barrier sometimes, of course. And we also are able to assist people who, as Bruce mentioned earlier, may not have been born in this country, may not have social security numbers, So, but there's still ways to receive the benefit, and it's just in our language, and it's just making sure that we're forthright with all the details and making sure that they know that we're on their side, and sometimes usually that's easier than not.
Is it okay if I say something?
Wait a minute.
Now there's a
Yeah.
show.
Oh, yeah, I'm facilitating. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, you all,
Yeah, we're as long as it's okay with you, we're happy to take some questions.
okay, I'll do the questions, but I'm gonna give you a chance. You're with the digital navigator.
I am.
Okay, I'm gonna give her a chance to, would you come up?
Sure. I just
Here, use the mic.
want to say one quick thing, which is, good morning. Our job is always to build the circle of information about what we don't know and what solutions we need to be thinking about. One of the things that's big with ACP, it's got an extra hoop to jump through, but think about all the kids in foster care, folks who are in transitional living programs, folks currently without a home. They need a hotspot. They need to be able to take their internet on the go. The ACP could do that, but that's the kinds of things we're always trying to know more about. So that's really, really important to us, where you're like, when you say to us, you haven't considered this or you haven't considered this, that's the kind of feedback we're chronically in need of. And I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, no, that's okay. You're with the digital navigator. Okay, we're going to start with our questions. And I just want to say before you begin that you're never too old to learn to use a computer. And I think that the elderly, it's very important because it helps them to stay connected with their families. Okay,
Yep.
With FaceTime and all this. Okay, Laura. Before I start, I made a mistake. That's Winston Robinson over here. Just got to have a friend named Winston Edwards, and I was talking to him yesterday, and his name just flew out of my mouth. I'm sorry, that's Winston Robinson.
Robert Evans.
Okay. Okay, so Laura, oh, we don't even need this to it.
My question is, with so many media outlets out here right now, TikTok, texting, email, and a host of other things that I'm not familiar with, and with almost, I mean, 1 million people in Charlotte, and we know over half of those families, probably are in need. Well, what is the most effective way that you have in place to reach those that are in need? Now, you told us you have 3,000 requests, but I know there are many other people, and I'm gonna put a slash. Can you tell us the names of some of those schools? Because I work with some of those schools that you said almost all of the students in those schools that you all have assisted. So.
Yeah, okay, so I'll take the second part first because that's fresh. So there's 68 of those schools where every family who attends that school automatically qualifies for the Affordable Connectivity Program, but they still need to apply. And what we're, as we talked about, what we're trying to do is make sure those families know that information. That doesn't mean that there aren't other families in the rest of the district who qualify. We just focus first on those 68 schools. And
those are Title I schools.
Majority of them are Title I schools. There's a community eligibility provision called CEP, and every CEP school, the families in those schools automatically qualify. So, Natalie, what was the name of the school that we went to for the out east for the interview? Idlewild. Thank you. Idlewild Elementary jumps to the top of my list because of all of the 68 schools, they had the highest number of families reach out for support signing up. Now, I equate that to the fact that last year, the principal of the year was from Idlewild Elementary, which to me indicates that there's something good happening in the culture there where families are finding out information. But to your question, we can get you that list. And I think Natalie's pulling it up so we can get some more specifics on those 68 schools and see if there's any schools that you work with, which I'm sure there is. And then we can also provide you the information. So every one of the families in those schools received the text message, the pre-recorded voicemail from the district, and a flyer that we sent, 42,000 flyers that we printed and couriered out to those 68 schools to help drive awareness. To the second part of your question, and seeing Eric here, that's obviously helpful to getting the word out. But we do a couple of things to spread the word about this program. And I think recognizing the power of Tuesday Morning Breakfast Forum and being here and holding space with you is one of the best places we could ever be because of the reach and the respect of this organization and the work that you all do. So us saying thank you for allowing us to be here because this is critical to that. The second way is through our partner organizations. And so we're at all those library distributions where those computers are giving out. We have a team of digital navigators who attend those events thanks to the library. This Saturday, right, is the next distribution, yeah. And so we'll have 16 plus digital navigators out there helping residents sign up for the Affordable Connectivity Program right after they receive their computer. To the story that Copeland was telling, some of those folks are getting their very first computer, or maybe they had a broken computer and they need one that actually works. And so that's another way we're face-to-face going to community events. Similar to the opportunity to speak at HUINA, talking to community-based organizations, resident leaders. So if you have a community meeting and you want us to come, we love that opportunity to sit shoulder to shoulder and to have this conversation and to share more information. Our nonprofit community is another way that we get the word out. So we do sort of presentations to those organizations about what the service is and how the people that they serve can access so that they're empowered if they're sitting with a resident. A great example, one of the very first, I always have to catch myself because this is an emotional story, but the very first call that I took when we launched the service was because of a Mecklenburg County social worker who we had an opportunity to present to that group. The next day, he was with a mother who was living in transitional housing up on North Tryon. And she had a young son who was trying to go to school. But the shelter didn't have strong enough internet for him to get online. And so this social worker recognized that was an opportunity to solve somebody's problem and help them continue to try to create a better life for their family. So he reached out to us, and we were able to get that mother a hotspot so that her son could go to school. And I think she had it for some period of time. And when they finally had improved the Wi-Fi at the facility, this was early on in COVID when, you know, all those things were raging. I remember her saying how her son was doing so much better because he didn't have to have that, you know, when the internet doesn't work, you know, the feeling, and it's just annoying and you're frustrated. And imagine being a little kid trying to stay focused. It's not possible. And so those partners that we work with that understand what we're trying to do become really powerful in sharing this message. And then the last is obviously our collaboration with any media who is willing to tell the story. Media in this community is critical to getting the word out, especially local media who is here and present and able to kind of understand the nuances of this work.
Thank you.
Okay, Gary?
I actually just answered one of my questions, but I guess one of them, I guess it's just a part of being running behind. What you probably already stated this, but what's the primary source for you to obtain the devices? I'm sure there's a number of sources, but what would you say is your primary, and what are our other opportunities to continue to
So in fairness, our partners are the ones who get the devices, and then we collaborate with them in some instances to help get them out to communities. And the majority of the computers that are distributed to residents today, whether it's from E2E or from the library, their original source is typically one of the companies in this community who uses them for 1, 2, or 3 years and then decommissions them. Basically, they retire those computers and they buy new computers. And those computers still have years of life. You know, these are very high quality business class machines that just need a little bit of cleanup, some new software, and they're ready to go into their second life. And so, Bank of America contributed 10,000 computers. It's probably been about almost 2 years now, maybe a year and a half ago, at a distribution that took place at West Charlotte High School. Honeywell has contributed 13,000 over the next 3 or 4 years to E2D to distribute those. Both of those went to E2D. So the main source is all the computers that are sitting in these towers uptown that get turned over every 3 years. We got to find a way to continue to make sure that those companies know that E2D can take them, they can clean them up, and they can get them right back out to this community. And that's a lot better than that computer going to a landfill or going into being packed up in a shipping container and sent somewhere else across the country or across the globe. We've got residents right here in this community who benefit. So keeping those companies close is really critical.
Okay, that was Gary, Nathalie, and then Winston.
Good morning. I started programming computers back in 1968. Well, most of you won't. And I taught a lot of people how to use computers, but I did it for a company. I worked for the company, they worked for the company, so I was there all day, every day to help them. I know the frustration it is to try to learn a computer. And you're giving out 20,000 computers, and I wonder how many of those are really going to be used. What type of software is on there, and do they have any written literature on how to use it, that they can actually do it at home, following step by step through a manual?
Yeah, first recognizing what you shared, which is it's so critical to be able to help people. And I think, Copeland, you mentioned that too, that just giving someone a computer is only a part of the equation. So I don't have the library has the specific specifications on what's on those computers, what they distributed. So I know that they use an open source operating system, and they have the equivalent of and the ability to access things like a free version of Microsoft Word and other things like that. It has a different name, but they receive the digital navigator material so that if they need support with that computer, they can call a digital navigator. And the library also offers workshops. So when you get that computer, you can also sign up for a workshop to come to the library and to sit shoulder to shoulder with a librarian if you choose to do that versus calling a digital navigator. Or oftentimes when you call a digital navigator, we sign them up for a library class. But it really starts and ends in that library ecosystem. And we can make sure that we get the specific specifications of those computers. I just don't remember them off the top of my head. Other than the fact that it's an open source, it's not a Microsoft, it's not a Windows operating system. It's an open source operating system that I think is a Linux based. So more like Macintosh, Apple than PC. But to your point, there's not a lot of people in the community who are going to be naturally comfortable in that environment because that's not the types of computers that most people have. And so the opportunity is, how do we ensure that all of our training providers are able to support residents with those computers, and that those residents know if they have any questions about that computer, call 311, press any button, ask to talk to a digital navigator, and Tiffany and Copeland and our other digital navigators who are here with us today will help them connect with one of those skill providers to learn. So, yeah.
And I've heard the second half of your question. They come with an instructional pamphlet in the device itself. So pamphlet is strong, I'm sorry, a piece of paper. A piece of paper with instructions, with detail, but essentially basic how to use, basic instructions on how to use the device. I believe that was.
But no manuals on the software itself, no instructions.
No.
Somebody needs to write something.
We were wondering what you were doing right now.
This comes back to the collective impact, though, because your experience, your history in this work, and the fact that you see that, right? Hey, they're going to need this. Who's going to do this? How are we going to do this? These are the kind of things we try to think about every day. And so, again, another wonderful thing about being here is, one, to be reminded of that, but also to invite you into the work and say, hey, let's have that conversation. Let's go talk to the partners and see how we can do that better. Because you hit it square on the head. That is the next wave that's coming after those 20,000 devices go out, is how do we support those residents in using that computer in a way that allows them to create some new opportunity.
Okay, Winston.
Good morning, Bruce. I know. So before I ask my question, I would like to add a story for data as well.
Go ahead.
So Bruce, Center for Digital Equity, we partner for a community festival I have about called Fresh. And what I found is, I thought initially, I asked Bruce to bring a lot of heavy computers to this site, and we just throw them out, make ring computers all over the place. However, what we found from the activation, what I found is the reception of a computer on site at a public event has a labeling aspect to it. And a lot of people didn't want to engage then. However, after when we share our resource partners and our social media stories, endless mess. Hey, I was here at the festival. I want to know how to get in contact with, they would come back to see how to initiate contact because they didn't want to do it public. Just to have whatever, without even knowing what that came with, knowing what the quality, they just didn't want to, and also wants to walk around the festival with a computer. So I think that was very valuable to share as we learned afterwards. And my question is also to Ms. Natalie's point. Is the marketing to respond or to lean in or to nurture with with our seniors, for example. I was going to buy my father a laptop last year, and his response was, "Can I play my DVDs on it?" So right then, I knew that laptop wouldn't add value to his life.
That's my old one.
So, however, would you see that as an opportunity to kind of nurture him from where he is, to show him how to play movies, stream, or is it like a lost cause, or is it like I'm just responding to somebody who asked? What? Yeah, how do you respond to community?
Well, y'all feel free to jump in here too, but no one in this community is a lost cause, right? I mean, that's maybe a broad statement, and that's a little broader. It sounds good, right? No, I mean in that context, we think that however I don't judge how people want to use the computer. So if somebody wants to use it to play the DVD, then let's get them comfortable playing that DVD, because now there's a computer and they know how to play the DVD. And those digital skills to even understand where to press to open the player, to pop the disc in, to turn on the software, to play, to adjust the sound, to make the screen the right size. Those are all transferable skills to take out the disc, but maybe you gotta do a telehealth visit with your doctor. And now you're comfortable watching something on your screen, you know how to change the volume, you know how to do those things. And so we're working on a collaboration with Inlivian, another partner, around helping folks who have to recertify. And recertification isn't a sexy process. But we know that a lot of the people, particularly the seniors who live in Inlivian, they're trying to do things like eat healthy foods. And so or they're trying to learn how to use the computer to save money. And so what we're doing is we're building the program to provide them with the thing that they want, and then identify the skills that overlap with doing the recertification, and then weave those two things together. So you know, this isn't just about what we want at all, it's about what you want. And then in that process, we oftentimes land at an outcome that's mutually beneficial.
Okay. Oh, can I just tell my little story quickly?
Please.
But before I retired, I was a homebound teacher for Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, and I leaned heavily on E2D, okay? Because I would get computers for my students. This was well before COVID hit, before we were doing all of this online. But because they were at home, they were able to do the North Carolina virtual high school. And so I would get computers from E2D and take to their homes. And we also had hotspots that they could use. And that was very, very beneficial to those students. They even gave me one, which I was very happy about. And there are two ladies that I know. One lives in your neighborhood, Winston, and she will be 100 years old in a couple of weeks. She has one and is able to communicate with, and then another lady that lives in your neighborhood also. And she's well into her, I think she's about 96 or 97. And we got her where she can't create an email, but she can get email and respond. So you can email her and she can respond back to you. And that has been just a lifesaver for both of those ladies. It keeps them connected to family and church and everything else. So that's been very helpful.
You make a good point, and this connects in with what Winston had shared about the, let's say, the stigma of saying that you don't have digital skills, or that you need a computer, or that you don't have internet, right? I think CMS saw this when they were distributing the hotspots. It's like kids didn't want to show up and be like, "Oh, I don't have internet." They didn't want to take that on in front of their peers. And this happens with seniors as well, right? There's a sense of, I don't need it. I don't see what it matters to me. Which oftentimes is a veil for perhaps what we've heard and seen in the research is maybe a little bit of fear about, what am I going to do? I don't know how to use this, and I need to. And so one of the things, the way we've designed our partnership to let community members request support is you can do it on behalf of somebody. So if someone says, hey, maybe you work with a senior and they're like, I could really use some help, I don't know where to go, you can pull up the form and you can fill in their information. You can put referred by, you can write your name in, and we'll call that person back on your behalf and say, hey, someone, your friend called and said you might want some help with this. We're here to help you. So different ways that we try to design the system to take that stigma out.
Do you do Apple computers or just PCs?
So our partners who distribute laptops distribute PCs. Yeah.
Laura?
But there are training programs. So if somebody has an Apple computer, there are training programs, whether at the library or Goodwill or other places that are Apple friendly.
Laura?
My question is in reference to the monitoring. Once you work with the families and you work with the children and you work with the schools, what is your process of monitoring to make sure that it's effective? And how do you measure your effectiveness other than just counting the number of computers in the places that you go?
No, that's a fantastic question, one that we get almost daily at this point, right? The impact of the work. So here in July, we will produce our first annual report, which will have the data piece of it, but also the impact. And so at the moment, what we're doing is we're surveying all of the residents. They're self-selecting, but we're asking residents who have received support from us to tell us, if they're willing, to tell us how that support has impacted, what are they able to do now, and how has that changed their outcomes. So it isn't just, to your point, we just took 3,000 tickets, we can pat ourselves on the back and think we did a good job, but like, what did that actually mean for our community? And so two of the things that we're hearing so far that jumped out at me in the first batch of survey responses was, one of the very first ones said, I need to be able to work at home and I didn't have a computer. The digital navigators helped me connect with one of the partners in the community. They got a computer and they now have a remote job that they can do from home. And that they weren't able to do that before they connected with the digital navigator. And so we're going to try to dig deeper into those stories to understand, well, what does that mean for you and what kind of change in your life did that happen? But that's one example. And the second one was a senior who was trying to use, learn telehealth skills and the kind of skills because there was a transportation barrier. And so we've now been able to help that person be able to maintain access to their health care team in a way that we don't have the data to back this up yet, but in a way that we suspect is improving their health outcomes, right? And you can talk to your doctor more often if you don't have to miss an appointment, if you can ask the kind of questions that help you maintain your health better, there's a correlation between that and living a healthier, happier life. And so in our annual report, we're really going to try to get at those stories in a way that goes beyond just the tickets and computers and things like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask the digital navigators to speak about some of their experiences from more of a emotional or counseling aspect, and some of the stories you encountered in getting people the confidence to approach their new device.
Almost all of them are emotional because somewhere along the line we try to meet the resident exactly where they are. We try to establish and build a relationship with them and let them know that we're here to help. And so the more and more you can talk and the more you find a common place, the more they'll let you in. And the more they'll let their guard down as to exactly everything that they need, whether it's past digital needs, their conversations that we had, and it's a lot of them are touchy. A lot of them are heartfelt, especially when you can connect to someone. And that's really what it's about. It's connecting to the community and giving them what they need. So anything specific, there's so many. I mean, I just hate to be basic like that, but there are just so many because you're helping people either order groceries, because they can't get out. They can order their medication because they can't get out. They're able to connect with their family members. They need a device to work. I have to go back to school. I can't afford, or I can't live on what I'm making now. So I need to go back to school in order to get a better education, so I can get a better job. So it's so many stories. They just go on and on and on. But for me, and I think I hopefully I speak for the rest of us, is that we try to find a common ground, and we try to make sure that they know that we care and that we're here to help. And so as long as we can just build that bridge and that gap, there are conversations that we have, just all the time. So I'm glad that we're able to just speak to that person and assist them with whatever it is that they need. Because a lot of times it's personal for me, because I've been in certain situations where people are now. And so for me to help and give back, and that's what I truly want to do, is help and give back. So I make it to where I'm able to connect with them, and I let them know my stories. I let them know like what I've been through, so that people won't feel like, you're just on the phone talking to me and you don't care, and you don't care about what my family needs or what, I need. No, we do care. We do care. And we want you to be able to be comfortable with us so that we can help push you further to do whatever it is that you want to do with the digital skills, the device, any kind of support that we're able to offer. So I don't have anything, because they're all so personal and emotional. And for me, they're that way. Anybody that I connect to that comes through a ticket that we have through 311, and you call them back, and we're just so glad that we have the support that we're able to help people.
Okay. Did you speak for everybody, or?
I think you used the word care. I think that's the operative word, and I just share that's what we have to do, and I think us to offer a specific case. So like, okay, my mother, for example, I grew up with my mom. She didn't trust stuff like this, because of just government distrust, or just because for obvious reasons, right? She didn't trust things like this, right? So when I'm on the phone with people, and especially people who are from other countries, like I said, who aren't citizens, and the first thing that the ACP would ask for it's an option, but the first thing they ask for is for the social security number, right? And then they're just already like, oh, okay, so I know what this is, I know what this is, and they're ready to go. But we're like, no, okay, no, there are other ways there are other ways you can qualify. Just always finding, because there's always a pivot, there's always a way to help somebody, there's always a way to jump, to get around. And if it takes, which we both experienced, 2 and 3 hour calls on the phone with the support people to be like, hey, they sent their documents in 3 times. Why can't you see this document? Okay, what if I had to take a picture of it and upload it to this email? Or, just finding hoops, jumping through new hoops to make sure people can get connected in the way they need to.
Okay, Natalie?
You said that you wanted to be number one, you wanted Charlotte to be number one in the nation. That's number one in what? Exactly, what criteria makes us number one? And who's number one now?
Yeah, great question. So to be the most digitally equitable community in America, and I want to apologize because I was dropping my kids off at school, so I didn't have time to get here to set up my presentation. So we just kind of played it by ear. But in one of the slides is that definition of digital equity, right? So some shared language. And digital equity is, in short, the ability for everyone in this community to fully participate in our modern society, economy, and democracy, driven by the need for access and use of technology. So for me personally, and I think we're working on this as an organization as well, but for me personally, it's that anyone in this community who wants to fully participate in our modern society, economy, and democracy can do so no matter their circumstances. And so whether that is folks who may have a cost barrier that we as a community have figured out how to take that away. So how do we get somebody a no-cost computer because they're trying to improve their life outcomes? How do we help somebody obtain internet access and adopt the internet when they might have barriers to, I think you mentioned it, some of the, or somebody mentioned, Amy, you mentioned it, the unhoused population, right? Residents in our community who don't have a home. Oftentimes that hotspot, it's just, it takes on the sense of belonging and place because they're connected and they can be found and seen because of that device. And so it's a little bit not as concrete as, well, these 6 things make you the most digitally equitable community in America. But it is a sense of how do we support our residents when it comes to the elements of digital equity, and how do we ensure that it's as accessible and equitable and across the board. The second part of your question is who's number 1? Well, there isn't really an official ranking, so I think we could say, we're close to the top. But I say that, obviously we're here, and it's, take it with a grain of salt, but we have one of the most organized digital equity ecosystems in the country. And I will, we can go talk to other communities and they can tell you that for themselves. They call me every day, and they email us every day, tell us what you're doing in Charlotte. How do you get the private sector and the public sector and the residents together for this co-creation process? In the spirit of understanding that we've learned lessons from a lot of folks, I will raise up the work that's being done in Detroit. Detroit has a very similar digital equity ecosystem that has a blend of residents and public and private sector. They've done some really amazing work there. I oftentimes look to them as, well, what are they doing and how do we learn from them? San Antonio is another community that has figured out both politically, getting support from the local government, as well as from some of their nonprofits and other organizations to kind of address this issue. But Charlotte just has, I think the reason that we have a leg up is in part because of the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative. And I know that there's some, that has a whole other set of conversations that may happen, but looking at it from the benefit that we've seen around digital equity is bringing the private sector to the table with their financial resources to address a issue that is absolutely intersectional with racial equity is digital equity. We've seen that in the data, we've seen that in the stories, and the investment that has come from both the public and private sector in that work through that vehicle of the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative has allowed us to hire these people that you see here for our team. We wouldn't be able to take those 3,000 calls if we didn't have digital navigators, and these digital navigators are funded through private sector investment from the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative. And that's not happening in other communities the way that it's happening here.
So we are number 1.
We could, let's say number 2, so we have some more, we don't want everybody to stop. But it is important, and I know I'll let another question in, but it is important that we are a collective impact. If anyone thinks that the Center for Digital Equity is going to solve digital equity for this community, I'm sorry that that's not going to happen. It is a all hands on deck. And for those of you who have kids, it's the all paws on deck for the Paw Patrol fans in the room, but it's all hands on deck approach to this work. And so we view our job, I view my job, I'll speak in my statements, as building a table that has enough leaves and enough chairs for everyone in this community to come sit around to help us address this issue. Because it's gonna take the individual referral from, hey, I know somebody who needs this. It's gonna take the organizations to share to their residents. It's gonna take our team. It's gonna take our private sector. It's gonna take our government agencies. And so, yeah, we're striving to be number one.
Okay,
Is there,
back here.
Do you, so if someone has a computer already, do you provide tech support for them as well?
Yeah, so and when we get these cards out here in a little bit, there's the 4 bullets of what our digital navigator service provides. Support signing up for affordable home broadband internet service, mainly through the Affordable Connectivity Program. Purchasing an affordable technology. And affordable can be defined by the individual. They might say, I have no money, so a no cost or low cost. Basic device and connectivity issues, and which includes some basic technical support. So where we are going in our roadmap around technical support is looking at building out that level 2 and level 3 support. So right now it's very basic technical support. If something's not working right, we can spend a few minutes in searching how we might help them. We can call on our volunteer pool that includes technical folks from private sector, but we're really building for a more robust model of providing that deeper level of support, which is mainly going to have to happen in person, which is why 311 is an amazing partner, and we want to be able to come in person as well. I think you all can attest to that, right? That in-person piece is really where the magic happens.
And if someone has a need for some to print something, is there a way that you all can help them access?
I don't think we have that in the playbook currently, but these are the kind of things that as we get calls, one of the beauty of those 3,000 tickets is we have all those data points. So we can understand what's happening across the community and begin to localize that. So we can say, in these zip codes, these are the kind of resident calls we're getting for these type of support. And these are the things we can help with, and these are the things we can't. So then we can invest in learning and training our team on how to support those things. I don't think y'all got any tickets for printing yet?
No, but I would point someone to their local
The library, yeah.
Library does.
Library's the main, I'm one of our main partners.
Okay, we are running out of time.
All right.
Okay, but I do have 2 more questions that I'm gonna let you answer, Laura and Tom.
Okay, part one is, how many digital navigators do you have working right now? And number 2 is, are there areas in Mecklenburg County that do not have internet capabilities? Because that has been a problem. And I like to hear from 311 because I use you all the time. I love 311 because I'm old. But I like to hear a little bit more from 311.
Okay, how many digital navigators do we have? Okay, we have 4 full-time digital navigators. These 2 folks right here, and Amen. Y'all raise your hand. There's 2 more of our full-time digital navigators. We're able to have 2 additional full-time digital navigators because of a contract that we won with the city for our digital navigation service to support the Access Charlotte program. And we have 1, 2, we're going to have 8 part-time folks. One of them is here, James. Thanks. Who just started with us last week. So we have 8 part-time folks. Of those 8, we have 5 opening that we're hiring for to focus specifically on Enlivian properties.
Nice.
So they're going to be 5 digital navigators dedicated to supporting residents of Enlivian.
Might have fun for this.
And
Okay, come on. Okay, second part of the question was
internet of
okay.
capabilities.
So I think the quick answer is there is little to no addresses in Mecklenburg County that do not have access to the internet. That means that there are wires in the ground that lead to that household or that apartment building. However, we know that there are communities and there are neighborhoods and individuals in this community where 60% of the households do not adopt the internet.
Okay.
So there's a few census tracts where that number is as high as 60% of the homes do not have a home internet subscription. And both in our work and communicating with our team, as well as the data shows that cost is the number one barrier. So it's too expensive for me to obtain or maintain an internet connection so that I don't keep one.
Okay.
Okay.
And Miss 311, no, I want to hear from her because the services that you offer us, I mean, you all have, and I call 311 a lot at my age. That's what we do. But just talk to us a little bit more about your involvement.
So with a little bit more about 311?
Yes.
Okay, so with 311, as I mentioned before, we are the main point of contact for the city of Charlotte and some Mecklenburg County departments. Some of our partners include Solid Waste Services, Charlotte Water, CMPD, Department of Transportation. So as the first point of contact, we're able to provide information. Also, if needed, we may be able to enter a service request in for you. So say, for example, you have a question about trash or recycling, we're able to put in information about having to schedule like a bulky pickup and that type of information. We also, along with being on the phone, we are available through a live chat option as well. We are open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We also are out in the community as well. We have a 301 on the go program. I'm not sure if you're aware, we are also, we have a partnership with Charlotte and Mecklenburg Libraries where we are in the library. We have an in-person agent who is in the library Wednesdays at the Sugar Creek location and also the South Boulevard location. We are there from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Wednesday. So that's another opportunity to be able to speak with a 311 representative. But we're able to, like we said, we serve as the first point of contact. So we are able to provide that information and service requests if needed. Then also too, serving with our digital navigator partners and some other organizations as well, where we're able to get that first point of contact.
Did you say something about you have a person at the library? When did you say? I need to write that down.
So we're there at the Sugar Creek location and the South Boulevard location every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And you can take, just like 311, you can take requests there.
We can take requests there. We usually try to handle the simple requests that don't necessarily involve getting deep down into like your personal information, but we can provide assistance as well.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they can direct you to taxes too.
Yes.
Okay, and Tommy.
Yeah, I just want to know how is your organization funded? Who funds your organization?
Okay, let's bring us home with that question. Okay.
Money.
All right, I'm gonna need a whiteboard for this one because we got a lot of different sources. Our main source of funding that started this work and anchored this work is Knight Foundation. In 2010, the Knight Foundation provided Queen's University of Charlotte with an endowment, $6 million to build a school of communication and to establish a community-based program focused on digital and media literacy. That work existed until 2015 when the city, county, library, school system, Goodwill, Urban League, and a few other partners started to have these conversations around digital equity. The university was at the table and so was Knight Foundation. They created a project manager position that was funded by Knight, and they housed that position at Queens, which was the position I was originally hired for. Up until about 2 years ago, that was the main source of funding for the work of digital equity in terms of the convening of partners. There's other organizations that do digital equity work that have their own funding. We have a handful of service contracts. We have developed an expertise in digital navigation and in digital health literacy. So we have contracts with the state of North Carolina, the Division of Aging and the Office of Rural Health, providing, building out digital health training programs across the state. We have a contract with the city of Charlotte for digital navigation services, a 3-year contract, and if we do well, they're going to give us a 4th year. And then we have private sector investments through the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative. There was about, in total for the digital equity work stream, there was $58 million. $38 million is going to be from the public sector. So these are like city investments that they're going to make and hopefully county investments and library investments, the 8 million. So those are things we don't control, but we help guide so that we're not tripping over each other. And then about 20 million of that is private sector investment. Some of that is in the value of the computers that they've distributed. So Bank of America's donation and Honeywell's donation has a dollar amount that's added up in that figure. And then there's the remaining piece of cold hard cash, as they would say, that comes in to fund these positions in the work of the CDE. The other piece that's critical in that, so that's the money. Private sector, government, service contracts. At the end of this year and the beginning of next year is when a bulk of the federal spending in digital equity is starting to come out. So that's going to be to the tune of millions of dollars, over $100 million for each state. Organizations like ours and our partners are going to be the ones who will benefit from that, who will be able to work with residents and community partners to put the fuel in the form of money behind the plans that we're co-creating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Quick question.
Yes.
How were your initiations with these companies? Did you sit down with them? Did you have a committee of people?
A combination of, obviously through the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative, there was some convening happening to bring those companies together to discuss those things. Some of the relationships came from, I've been in Charlotte for 19 years and had the opportunity to have some positions that afforded me some visibility in those communities, some of the relationships. But at the end of the day, they all came to sitting at the table and having a conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's give them a big hand. All of you, we do use 311 as long as
That's good to hear.
yes, and I'm sure you all are busy all day long. But we want to thank you so much for coming, and please come back, all of you from Digital Navigators or University. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Okay.